Welcome! This presentation was developed by Martha Schwer and Jennifer Lewis. It's based on presentations we attended at the SLOAN-C conference in 2012, as well as other articles and web postings since then. The purpose of this presentation is to help you learn how to use motivational techniques in your online course to improve student learning. Motivation drives behaviors, persistence, and goal achieving in learning. Being able to understand factors that influence motivation can help you develop appropriate strategies to keep learners motivated throughout the learning experience. We will look at effective strategies that can be used to motivate learners and help them persist in achieving their educational goals. Finally, we will look at the impact of isolation in the online environment and consider how dialogue and flexibility can support individual learners. Motivation is driven by the need for achievement and avoidance of failure. Learners approach the learning environment with a need for achievement, which is driven by numerous factors in their lives. This may include advancing in their career, changing careers, as well as the desire to earn a degree. The need for achievement can create anxiety because of the fear of failure, which can affect their lives personally and professionally. There are two types of motivation: intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation comes from within you, while extrinsic motivation comes from something outside of you. The goal is to help learners develop intrinsic motivation to be able to achieve their educational goals. Intrinsic motivation relates to the achievement of personal goals, such as building knowledge and skills, or for the sheer joy of learning. When the ultimate goal is learning and there is a strong interest in the content, there are high levels of intrinsic motivation. Learners who are intrinsically motivated tend to be learning-oriented, which helps them persist in the face of difficulty. In addition, intrinsically motivated learners find relevance that is more personal in learning. If the need for achievement is related to external rewards or punishments, such as the new job or loss of a job because of the lack of skill, it is considered to be extrinsically motivated. One of the issues with extrinsic motivation is that it is often associated with learner goals being focused on performance as a means to an end rather than learning a goal. Extrinsically motivated learners who do not see the value of learning do everything they can to jump through the hoops to get a passing grade with little focus on learning. It is important to develop strategies to help extrinsically motivated learners become more intrinsically motivated. You can use the Madison College course competencies to provide relevance to the course activities in the real world, which can help motivate learners to focus on learning rather than grades. Competencies at Madison College avoid describing class activities. Rather, they focus on what learners will actually do with the knowledge and skills once the course is done. Competencies indicate not only what will be learned in terms of knowledge and skill, but also how it is applied. Self-efficacy is one's belief that they can succeed at a specific task or range of tasks in a given domain. It influences the effort we put forth, how long we persist at a task when confronted with obstacles, and how we feel about the task. People tend to avoid engaging in a task where their efficacy is low and generally undertake tasks when their efficacy is high. Learners who have a strong sense of efficacy organize their attention and effort to the demands of a situation and rise to challenges. The higher the perceived self-efficacy, the more vigorous and persistent are their efforts. It is important to note that high self-efficacy can have a negative effect because individuals with high self-efficacy may not prepare the way they should because of overconfidence, which can lead to poor performance. Individuals with low self-efficacy tend to believe that things are tougher than they really are. This creates stress and a narrow vision of how to best go about a problem, so they more easily give up. Locus of control refers to individuals' beliefs about what determines their successes or failures in life. Individuals with an internal locus of control believe that they are in control of outcomes and attribute their successes and failures to their ability to control outcomes through their own actions and efforts. Individuals with an external locus of control attribute their successes or failures to luck, chance, or something in the external environment, such as the power of others or environmental effects, which are outside of their control. An external locus of control can reduce motivation because their thinking is that no matter what they do, they will not succeed. Strong academic self-efficacy coupled with an internal locus of control is a key predictor of success in the online environment. Dill and Mizak studied the profile of learners enrolled in telecourses focusing on locus of control. They found locus of control was a significant predictor of success and persistence in distance education courses. Specifically, learners with an internal locus of control were more likely to succeed and persevere to complete the course than learners with an external locus of control. If you teach in a professional program at Madison College, you can probably look at this list and recognize which side of the table your learners typically fall on. Certain programs attract certain kinds of learners, and your classroom methodology has probably very naturally adapted to one side or the other. If you are in a general studies course, however, you may have both kinds of students in the same online classroom. From research, we do know that online students perform more effectively if they are independent learners. However, students may be forced to take a course online for many reasons. So keep in mind that you have to serve dependent learners just as well as you serve the independent learner through good online course design and clear communication. It is unlikely that you are ever going to reshape a dependent learner into an independent learner in the span of just one semester. As you plan the structure, features, and course policies in your online course, put some thought into how the design of your online course assignments can work for dependent learners, not just the independent ones. Because you are physically separated from dependent learners in this format, be aware that they may never be able to ask for help because they don't know what they need help on. Make sure you plan to draw a boundary, however, in the content of the course. If it becomes clear that a student is unwilling or unable to thrive in your online class, and you have a course that includes these aids to independence, consider helping the student into another format as soon as it becomes evident that success online is impossible. You can spend so much time supporting a student who is not able to learn anything in the online format that you neglect your duties to the other students. Awareness of learners' motivation can provide you with an important information to diagnose issues. This is critical at the beginning of the course when learners may be feeling their lowest levels of self-efficacy and highest levels of anxiety. High anxiety can quickly cause learners to lose motivation, which may affect the amount of effort they will put forth to successfully complete learning activities. By providing appropriate strategies to help learners improve their ability to persist, you can help increase their confidence, which can increase motivation and effort. We will look at 6 ways to improve motivation: build in success, control content, use verbal persuasion, provide continuous feedback, monitor locus of control, and monitor performance. Successes raise efficacy while failures lower them. At the beginning of the course, structure initial course activities so learners have opportunities to experience successes. This gives them an opportunity to adjust to the course environment and expectations while at the same time successfully engaging in the course activities. Introductions and discussions that allow the learner to consider information that relates to some aspect of their life can allow learners to engage in dialogue and get to know their peers and you without feeling too overwhelmed. Structure the introduction discussion so that it allows learners to tell everyone some personal aspects of themselves, along with their goals and any concerns they have as they begin the course. This provides learners an opportunity to get to know one another and to see that other learners are feeling some of the same anxieties, which can make them feel that they are not alone in how they feel. Next, for a learner who is not familiar with the content area, like a learner in a first semester course, the amount of content can be overwhelming and can create anxiety. Consider the amount of information that is presented to learners, especially at the beginning of your course, and limit the number of supplementary resources so they don't get overwhelming, particularly in entry-level courses. It is also important to consider the level of challenge. The content must be at the proper level of difficulty in order to be motivating. Tasks that are too easy become boring, and tasks that are too difficult cause frustration. In addition, clear instructions can help increase the likelihood of learners succeeding in completing the course activities. When writing instructions, go step by step. Make each step just one action and start each step with a verb. If you can follow that practice, students will be able to understand your writing more easily. Keep in mind that if students are asking a lot of questions about your instructions, you may need to work on how they are written. There are many resources to work on your technical writing skills, which most people never got in school. Start by utilizing a Madison College Writing Center, which serves both instructors and students. You can also meet with Martha, who's a technical writing instructor here at the college and also an online teaching and learning mentor. Verbal persuasion, even if it's an email, can also have a positive influence on self-efficacy by providing learners encouragement. In some classes, providing informal discussion areas where learners can post to other learners provide them an opportunity to describe their anxieties and frustrations. More than likely, other learners are feeling the same anxiety, so allowing learners an opportunity to interact with one another and show support and understanding of what their peers are feeling can provide encouragement and motivation to persist. This is particularly helpful if you are teaching a cohort of learners who are in the same program. You should also communicate verbally with learners and offer them encouragement. By proactively communicating with learners who appear to be struggling, you can assure them that through effort they can succeed. It is important not to over-exaggerate their abilities, but rather emphasize effort over ability and let them know that you are here to support them and their persistence and effort will help them become more successful. Ongoing feedback beginning in the first few weeks of the course can help learners build confidence by communicating specifically what they are doing well and how they can improve their performance. Even if learners' work is overall of poor quality, you can point out the fact that they continue to show improvement and that their tenacity to stay in the course in spite of difficulties is admirable. Be sure to relate their success to effort, not ability, so that learners believe that by putting forth additional effort, they can successfully achieve the outcomes of the course. For learners with an external locus of control, monitor communications and be aware of statements from learners who attribute failures to a number of things outside of their control. Develop communications that are sympathetic to their circumstances, but also provide specific advice that relates the need for additional effort. Always relating performance to effort will help reluctant learners understand that the amount of effort they are able to put into their learning will have a positive impact on their performance. Finally, encourage learners to take control of the outcomes of their learning through their own efforts. Poor performance can be a result of learners' external locus of control, and they may think that no matter what they do, they will not succeed. So why try? It is also important to understand how the learner is defining effort and make sure that the effort is being spent on effective strategies to navigate the online course content and complete the associated activities. If learners have numerous issues which lead to poor performance, they can become disheartened. Consider developing an online improvement plan that allows learners to focus on one issue at a time and progressively improve. Through successive achievements, learners will gain greater self-efficacy and begin to understand that they are in control of their achievements, which can improve motivation and persistence. If your course has a writing component, provide formative feedback on writing skills on smaller writing tasks such as discussions before they engage in larger writing assignments so that you can provide learners with opportunities to improve their writing skills. So to re-summarize, awareness of learners' motivation can provide you with important information to diagnose issues. This is most critical at the beginning of a course when learners may be feeling their lowest levels of self-efficacy and highest levels of anxieties. This can quickly cause those learners to lose motivation, which may affect the amount of effort they will put forth to successfully complete the learning activities. By providing appropriate strategies to help learners improve their ability to persist, you can help increase their confidence, which can increase motivation and effort. The feeling of isolation in an online course can also have an impact on motivation. Michael Moore articulated a theory called transactional distance. This theory postulates that distance education is more than simply the geographical separation of the instructor and the learners, but also includes the impact distance can have on understanding and perceptions, which can affect motivation. Physical separation leads to psychological and communication gaps, which creates a space of potential misunderstanding between the instructor and the learner. This is referred to as transactional distance. High dialogue between the instructor and the learner, along with flexible learning environment, leads to a low transactional distance and diminished feelings of isolation. Learners who are new to online learning may feel isolated when they begin their first online course. It is important to manage the feelings of isolation, especially at the beginning of a course, to make sure that transactional distance is minimized. One of the first things that you can do is to send everyone a welcome email to acknowledge their presence in the course. Take the time to send the email out to individual learners and call them by name so that there is no doubt that you're speaking to them individually rather than sending out that group email. This also gives the learners an opportunity to express any feelings of apprehensions they may have and begin a dialogue, which can immediately reduce the feeling of isolation. Another recommendation to reduce transactional distance is to check your course mail or email frequently to respond to learner communications. Providing opportunities for learners to talk with one another can also remove the feeling of isolation. Making a requirement to interact with other learners can also create an opportunity for learners to develop relationships within the course. You can also increase socialization by creating team or group activities. This structure allows learners to get to know a small number of learners in the class, which is not nearly as intimidating as trying to get to know everyone. The flexibility of the learning environment can also have an impact on transactional distance depending on the learning style of individual learners. Some learners may require more structure, while other learners may be more self-directed and prefer independent learning activities. The critical component of structure is being able to provide a flexible learning environment that meets the needs of all learners. For example, you can build flexibility by allowing learners to choose topics to write on or to pick a topic from a recommended list of topics. You may also want to create some flexibility by allowing learners to write papers or develop alternative presentations such as slide presentations or some other mode using multimedia. You can also create flexibility by giving learners options on discussions to participate in. For instance, you may want to consider posting several discussions and giving learners the option to answer the discussion that they are most interested in exploring. Also consider ways to be flexible with learners when they encounter personal or professional issues outside of the course. Remember that most online learners work full-time and also have family obligations. Allowing some flexibility can help sustain their motivation and assist them in overcoming obstacles along the way. Overall, the more you can adapt dialogue and structure the learning experience to meet the needs of the individual learner, the more opportunities you can have to keep them motivated and focused on their overall learning goals. If you'd like some more information, you can use the following references to continue building your knowledge. And if you have any questions about this presentation, please don't hesitate to contact your instructor.